would like to introduce to you Miss Pam Lenz. She is going to come up here and she's going to share some heartfelt things with us this evening, and then we'll move on to the next thing. So
Before I get started, let's give it up for Nicole. Goodness. This thing is heavy. Excuse me. I think this is as far as I'm going to get with it. All right. All right, ladies. Have a few little props there. How many runners do we have in the house? You know those people that like for real run and run races? I see a few hands. Let me see them up higher. Come on, don't be bashful at all. Any runners? All right. Well, there was a season in my life, a very short season, that I was a runner. Now, you might think I run now, but usually that's like to the bathroom. But I kind of did a little running for a bit. But I began running to honor my dear friend, Hope Scholl. Those of you from Henderson, those of you from Freed-Hardeman, Horizons, perhaps you know Hope, and a building there is named after her. But Hope was battling ovarian cancer, and I started running, decided I would train, and I wanted to run. She was an avid runner, and I thought, if she can, I can do this. You know, she's battling cancer and still moving and running, and I had no excuse. So I started training for my first 5K by using the Couch to 5K app. And when I say couch, I mean I was like deep in the recesses of the couch, you know. So it was not pretty. And I did it and got started. Of course, you know, when you're going to train, you probably should work at it a little bit. But no, I trained on a very flat surface. The flattest one I could find. There was a neighborhood that there were no hills. So I made sure that was where I trained. One time when I was running, there was an older gentleman came out onto his porch. He was sweeping, and he said, he hollered to me. He was like, "Good job running." Y'all, I was so excited. He could tell I was running and not walking. I mean, that just made my day. So I signed up for my first race. And I did that before I could change my mind. And before I decided to stop training. So that way I had that commitment. I signed up for a 4-mile run. I was so naive. I had no idea that the difference between a 5K and 4 miles. So I signed that, and I thought, well, it can't be too much difference, right? There was also a local dentist in our town that he started a club to promote good health, and so that people would exercise and run together. So, you know, I'm all in, and I joined that group. And they were even giving away shirts. I got a free shirt. It was a dry fit shirt. And I didn't exercise, so I never had a dry fit shirt. I was so excited, but I got a free shirt. We all like free shirts. And even the elementary school where I was teaching at that time had a running club. So several students in my class, they were in that running club, and they were so excited that I had signed up for a race. Well, the day finally came for my first race. It was a Saturday morning. Y'all, I almost backed out. I was like, what am I doing? I cannot believe I have signed up for this. It was a Saturday, and I mean, we all need more sleep, right? And then I was like, what if I couldn't finish this race? What if I was dead last? How embarrassing. I was greeted that morning by several runners. My excited fourth graders, of course, they were just so pumped that Miss Lenz was there. I had some friends from church that I didn't know would be there, and that local dentist and the club members were there, but I do have to admit I didn't wear the shirt because I didn't want to embarrass the club, right? But all of these people were seasoned runners, And they knew all the things, where to go and where to wait, all that. They kind of guided me around. And, the running community is a very welcoming and supporting community and supportive group. Well, the signal sounded, and here we go. And at first, I was trying really hard. I'm keeping up with the crowd. Man, I can do this. And then it did not take me long to realize that I was not going to be able to keep up with them. So if I expected to finish the race. So I got in my little groove, my little puttering groove, and I putted along. And I watched that pack grow smaller and smaller. And they got further and further away from me. At times in that race, it was very lonely. And there was nothing around but me and the pavement. I had to use a lot of self-talk to not take a detour off the route and call my husband to come get me. But there was some good news. I was not last. Yay. Behind me was a much, much older man, and every time he got up near me, I poured it on. I was like, he is not going to beat me. Then there was another woman behind me that was about my age. And then there was a mom pushing a stroller. I also would not let her get in front of me. And then there was the ambulance. Now, if you know anything about races at all, or if you don't know, the ambulance is for those that can't finish. So there were 3 people between me and the ambulance. Throughout the race, there were people on the sidewalk clapping and cheering. And it seemed to be at just the right time when I needed a pick-me-up. I was getting a little discouraged, and then all of a sudden, it's really cool. When you're racing, people stop and they're clapping along the way. It's really an awesome experience. Do you remember me telling you I trained for a 5K but signed up for a 4-mile race? Well, a 5K is 3.1 miles. I signed up for a 4-mile race. That is a difference of 9/10 of a mile, practically another mile. Well, the final portion of this mile had 2 hills. 1, 2, 2. Remember, I also told you I trained on flatland. So when I looked up and saw those 2 rises, I just couldn't believe it. I thought, I cannot do this. There is no way. I barely made it to the bottom of those 2 hills, much less getting up both of those. So I ran up the first hill, and I thought I was going to die then. But I had one more. As I was about to approach that second hill, I looked up, and I saw my 2 4th graders standing there. They had finished that race, and they came back to cheer me on. Wasn't that sweet? I know. Of course, they started to encourage me, and I couldn't talk or breathe. But it really touched me that they came back. Then I saw 2 ladies from church. They also came back to cheer for me. And they probably had already had all the snacks and came back, so that's how long. But they were also there and came back looking for me. And guys, that dentist that I was telling you about, all of a sudden, he came up beside me. And he started running with me. The whole time, he was saying things like, "You're doing great. Keep going, Pam. Don't let your feet stop." I topped that second hill finally, but I wasn't at the finish line. The finish line was right around the corner. He said, yeah, I can still hear him. I hear his voice in my head. He said, "You see that sign right there? When you get to that sign, I want you to give it everything you've got all the way to the finish line." Well, I tried to stall. I was like, "You mean this sign or that one?" And he goes, he would gotten to Pam, when you get to the sign. And I was like, oh, I want the furthest one I could. So anyway, so I found the furthest one that I could. I didn't think I had anything left in me. But I mustered what little was left, and I broke into my sprint. I know, it probably wasn't pretty. My husband did video it, but you did not see that. I made sure y'all didn't see that. So I finished the race. I finished the course. I finished the course that I wasn't prepared for or expecting. Isn't life like that? We have trials sometimes tougher than we expect that we aren't prepared for. Do you sometimes feel alone in this spiritual race? Do you feel like you are in over your head and the trials are too steep to climb, much less go over? Do you feel like you are not worthy to wear the name of Christ? I'm here to remind you that you are not alone in this spiritual race. If you will listen, you will hear some cheering. You're going to hear some cheering. Your divine coach is cheering for you. God loves you, and He is for you. He is running alongside you and does not let you face those hills and valleys alone. Sit with Him and listen for His directions and listen for His cheers. He is cheering you on. There are people who have gone before you who are cheering for you. Hebrews 11 lists all of those heroes of faith. And when you get to Hebrews 12, JJ talked about that this morning. In Hebrews 12 follows by saying in verses 1 and 2, therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith. And you see, my dear friend Hope died before I could run that 4-mile race. But all along that race, I could feel her encouragement. And actually, I was like, she's telling me right now, Pam, come on, you can do this. You know, I knew I could hear that. You have someone, perhaps, that is no longer with you, but was very impactful in your spiritual life. Listen, and you'll hear their cheers. And we have a community of saints, don't we, ladies, cheering for us. Being in Christ is being in a family. They could be sitting in the same church auditorium with you 3 days a week, or sitting in another church meeting on the other side of the world, meeting together, or sitting in this room right now. They are your cheerleaders. Listen for their cheers. Not only are you worthy of being cheered for, you are worthy of being a cheerleader for others, no matter how ugly your race might be. When my race was over, the girl that was running behind me, who was my age, came up to me and she said, "You really helped me." She said, "You didn't stop running. Your feet didn't stop moving." You see, the way we run the race impacts those around us. Our impact is significant even when we don't think there is any way possible that it could be. Philippians 2:14 through 15 says, "Do all things without complaining and disputing, that you may become blameless and harmless, children of God without fault in the midst of a crooked and perverse generation, among whom you shine as lights in the world." That's what you are. Holding fast the word of life. Are you looking around for those that you can cheer on? Or are you just waiting to be cheered for? You see, we are so valuable to each other. We're not in competition, girls. That's so big in our world. Let's just get rid of that. Let's get that out of our head. Hebrews 10:24 through 25 says, "And let us consider one another in order to stir up love and good works, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as is the manner of some, but exhorting one another, and so much more as you see the day approaching." I was so proud when I finished that race. I mean, that was my goal, finish the race. I was beyond shocked when I received a third place trophy. I know. Now I'm going to say it was a third place trophy for my age group. However, I ended up receiving a trophy in a race where all I had to do was show up and finish. The others my age didn't. We can't lose sight of the finish line we are promised. At the end, let's be able to repeat what Paul said in 2 Timothy 4:7. "I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith." Open your ears so you can hear the cheers and finish strong. So, here's what we're going to do, ladies. I was voted best school spirit in high school, and I wasn't even a cheerleader. So get ready. I want you to stand up. Go ahead. Okay, we've got cheerleaders among us, so I should really hear you, I know. All right. Get your fist up in the air, ladies. And I want you to say, "Keep moving, finish strong." We're going to say it 3 times. You ready? Come on, pump it hard. Ready? Keep moving, finish strong. Keep moving, finish strong. Keep moving, finish strong. Good job. Now, yeah, come on. That's right. We're going to get a pep rally up in here, right? Woo-hoo! All right, now we're going to say this 5 more times. I want you to not be looking at me. I like it. But I want you to be looking at each other, okay? And I want you to look around at all the people in this room. And you've got a big room, and we've got a big room of our sisters. And we're going to say it 5 times. Look around and say it to each other. Ready? Keep moving. Finish strong. Look around. About 1,500 women were just cheering for you. When you are struggling, I want you to remember this moment. I want you to stop, and I want you to listen for those cheers. Keep moving and finish strong. Thank you.